In a pulse-pounding clash of grit and vengeance, a routine police raid spirals into a deadly game of cat and mouse when cops storm the home of a reclusive black woman and unaware she's a legendary special forces sniper with a past shrouded in secrets and a trigger finger that never misses. Buckle up for a 4,000-word thrill ride packed with jaw-dropping twists, heart-stopping action, and a heroine who'll redefine justice one bullet at a time. Subscribe now to dive into this electrifying tale and unlock more stories that grip you from the first word to the last. The night was heavy with the kind of silence that chokes a city, the kind where every creak of a floorboard or distant siren feels like a warning. In a modest, ivy-covered house on the edge of Atlanta's quietest suburb, the air was still, but the world outside was about to erupt. A SWAT team, clad in black tactical gear, crept through the shadows, their boots barely whispering against the dew-slicked grass. They had a tip, a drug stash, maybe weapons, hidden in the home of one Cassandra Cass Jackson, a woman whose neighbors described her as polite but distant, a loner who kept her curtains drawn and her life private. The team's commander, Lieutenant Marcus Hale, a grizzled veteran with a penchant for protocol, double-checked the warrant. The intel was Salida cell phone pings, a shady informant, and a grainy photo of a woman who matched Cass's description at a suspected dealer's hangout. Hale signaled his team to stack up at the door. They didn't know it yet, but they were about to kick open a hornet's nest. Inside, Cass sat in her dimly lit living room, a glass of bourbon in one hand, her other resting on a worn copy of Sun Tzu's Art of War. Her eyes, sharp as a hawk's, flicked toward the window, catching the faintest glint of a scope's reflection in the neighbor's yard. She wasn't surprised. She'd been expecting trouble not because of drugs, but because her past had a way of clawing its way back. 20 years ago, Cass had been Lieutenant Colonel Cassandra Jackson, the U.S. Army's most decorated female sniper, a ghost in the deserts of Iraq and the mountains of Afghanistan, with a confirmed kill count that made hardened generals whisper her name in awe. She'd retired after a mission gone wrong, one that left her team dead and her soul fractured, vowing never to pick up a rifle again. But old enemies don't forget, and neither do old skills. The door exploded inward, splintering under the force of a battering ram, and Hale's team stormed in, shouting commands, their rifles sweeping the room. "Police, hands up!" Cass didn't flinch. She set her bourbon down, her movements slow, deliberate, her mind already 3 steps ahead. "You're in the wrong house," she said, her voice low, like the rumble of a storm. Hale barked at her to get on the floor, but something about her calm unnerved him. Her eyes weren't scared, they were calculating. Before he could process it, the lights went out, plunging the house into darkness. A split second later, a faint click echoed, and Hale's point man dropped, a tranquilizer dart in his neck. Panic erupted. The team fired blindly, muzzle flashes lighting up the room like strobe lights, but Cass was gone, a shadow slipping through her own home like a wraith. She'd rigged the place years ago, hidden passages, pressure sensors, a fortress disguised as a cozy bungalow. The cops weren't hunting a drug dealer, they were prey in her domain. Cass moved silently to her basement, where a locked steel door hid her past, a cache of weapons, not for crime, but for survival. She grabbed a suppressed M24 sniper rifle, her old companion, its weight familiar as a lover's touch. Upstairs, Hale regrouped his rattled team, barking orders to sweep the house. They didn't know Cass was already outside, perched in the oak tree across the street, her scope trained on them through a window. She could have killed them all, but that wasn't her style, not anymore. Instead, she fired a single shot, shattering the radio on Hale's belt, a warning to back off. The team froze, realizing they weren't dealing with an amateur. Hale, stubborn and pride-wounded, called for backup, but Cass was already on the move, slipping into the night to unravel why they'd come for her. The tip, she suspected, wasn't random. It smelled like a setup, and she had a good idea who was behind it. Years ago, during her last mission, Cass had taken out a warlord named Victor Craven, a man with ties to a shadowy syndicate. She'd thought his network died with him, but whispers on the dark web suggested his brother, Ivan, was alive and hunting her. The raid was no coincidence, it was bait. Cass needed answers, and she knew where to start. her old informant, a hacker named Reggie who lived in a rundown loft downtown. She reached his place by midnight, moving like a phantom through alleys, her rifle slung across her back. Reggie, a wiry man with a nervous tic, nearly fainted when he saw her. "Cass, they said you were dead," he stammered. She pressed a knife to his throat, not hard, just enough to focus him. "Who's saying my name, Reggie?" He spilled everything. Ivan Craven had bribed a dirty cop in Hale's unit, planting the drug tip to flush Cass out. The raid was meant to kill her, but Ivan wanted her alive first to suffer. Cass's jaw tightened. She hadn't wanted this fight, but it had found her. She told Reggie to dig deeper, to find Ivan's location, then vanished back into the night. Meanwhile, Hale's team was reeling. The tranquilized officer was fine, but their pride was bruised, and the brass was furious. Hale, sensing his career slipping, doubled down, pulling strings to track Cass. They found her car's GPS signal disabled, but not before it pinged near Reggie's loft. Hale's team descended, unaware Cass was watching from a rooftop, her scope tracking their every move. She could have ended it there, but she needed Hale alive. He was her way to the dirty cop, and through him, to Ivan. She let them raid Reggie's place, knowing he'd already wiped his drives and bolted. Then she made her move, slipping into Hale's SUV while he was inside, hot-wiring it, and driving off. When Hale emerged, he found his vehicle gone and a note on the pavement: "Stop chasing me, or you'll regret it." Hale, furious but intrigued, realized Cass wasn't just a suspect, she was a force. Back at her safe house, a nondescript apartment across town, Cass pieced together the puzzle. Reggie texted her a lead. Ivan was holed up in a warehouse by the docks, surrounded by mercenaries. The dirty cop, a detective named Burroughs, was feeding Ivan intel. Cass knew a frontal assault was suicide, so she played to her strengths: precision, patience, and fear. She scouted the warehouse at dawn, mapping every guard post, every blind spot. That night, she struck. One by one, Ivan's men fell to her darts, non-lethal but precise, dropping them like flies. She didn't want bodies, just chaos. By the time Ivan realized his perimeter was breached, Cass was inside, her rifle trained on him. He was a hulking man, his face scarred from a life of violence, but his eyes widened when he saw her. "The ghost," he whispered, using her old code name. He laughed, a hollow sound, and revealed his trump card: Burroughs, holding Reggie hostage, a gun to his head. Cass didn't blink. She'd faced worse odds. In a blur, she fired, the bullet grazing Burroughs' hand, making him drop the gun. Reggie dove for cover as Cass lunged, disarming Burroughs with a single twist of his wrist. Ivan charged, but Cass was faster, slamming him to the ground with a move honed in combat zones. She tied them both up, then turned to Reggie. "You okay?" He nodded, trembling. She called Hale, leaving an anonymous tip about the warehouse. When he arrived, he found Ivan and Burroughs bound, a flash drive with evidence of their crimes taped to Ivan's chest. Cass was gone, a shadow once more. Back at her house, she sat in her living room, the bourbon back in her hand. The cops had torn the place apart, but she'd rebuild. She always did. Hale, now obsessed, kept her file open, but he'd never find her unless she wanted him to. Somewhere out there, Ivan's syndicate was licking its wounds, but Cass knew they'd come again. She'd be ready. Her rifle, cleaned and stowed, waited in the basement, a reminder that legends don't retire, they just reload.